As a question, Mallory asked, would the workshops be available to view later? And they are, right? You're going to
Yeah, they're all on the site now.
And you have
And
11
so
months access, 11 months.
but they're on so welcome everybody. My name is Khadijah Ali-Coleman. I'm co-founder of Black Family Homeschool Educators and Scholars with my colleague Cheryl Fields-Smith, who's been holding it down as opening all of our Zoom rooms for our sessions that we've had thus far. Mallory's question about the sessions, I think, is a great starting question, because I have actually outdid myself because I didn't think I would have them up so soon. But all of the sessions that have happened since Monday can be viewed as recaps. The sessions are in their entirety. The ones from yesterday are on the main page when you log in, but you can see all of them from the 19th and the 20th. And if you click on group chat, and they're all there. So you can see them all, the coffee talks, as well as the live panels and workshops that took place. So we're asking folks, don't share them. They're unlisted. The workshops and panels are unlisted because we still want that content to be unique to our site for folks to log in. The coffee talks are live, are visible. However, they were pre-recorded on the YouTube. So everyone can view them through the Teach-In site, but you can also click in and go to YouTube if you want to go there to comment, to leave a comment, and to like, which of course we ask you to do. We've seen a jump in our YouTube subscriber number, so that's a good thing. That means that some of you all are going to YouTube and subscribing to our channel, which is always a good thing, because you can also, we also have a podcast that you can subscribe to as well. But great question, Mallory. How's everyone doing? Cheryl's usually the one that asks everybody, how are you feeling? I'm going to let you go. I want you to do that. How are you feeling? How are you feeling so far?
I hope everybody's been inspired so far this week. I know I have. Just listening to people and how they're making this work for them is just amazing. Creating new positions where none existed.
Yes, yes, yes. Not asking for permission, showing up and being their best selves, and sharing their process. I think someone in the group chat, and everyone that's on here, if you haven't checked out the group chat yet, and folks have just been randomly commenting and sharing their impressions on things, and it's just a really wonderful space to read and to really meet other people as well. And then when you meet other people, then you can dialogue with folks through the message app, or you have the ability to message folks on the Teach-In, so you can have conversations with people. But once one person said that they were really empowered to, they have been feeling kind of lost, and these sessions have been giving them just validation. And so I am glad for this Teach-In, because we always talk about homeschooling is not a monolith among Black people who homeschool. And I think that has been evident in the session. So that really makes me excited just to see the diversity within our community.
Yeah.
The
one on the co-ops, I had no idea there were so many different ways to do a co-op.
Right.
And it made me think that because I started wondering, going through the LLC process, trying to decide whether you need an LLC or a 501(c)(3), those are really important things to consider as you're growing your co-op.
Yeah, and when they were talking, because there is a distinction. LLC always is a protection, so folks can't sue you. But also, we know that when you become an LLC, a corporation, then in this country, that's like another person, right? But then when you get you become a nonprofit, then you're eligible for grants and things like that. And so that is always something of interest that I know homeschoolers are talking about, because there are organizations that have been around for a while advocating for homeschoolers who really don't want homeschoolers to advocate for us to have access to tax money, because that will mean that the government will have oversight on how we homeschool, and basically have a level of control over what we do, that's reason why some of us have pulled our children out of school to begin with, right? But a nonprofit or starting a business, that then becomes another entity, where you have certain freedoms, and then you can apply for money that's not really impacting the level of control that they have over how you homeschool and what you homeschool. So it was just really interesting. I found it really interesting when Iman was talking about on Jade's panel about the challenges that she had on OutSchool to offer a class on decolonizing history, African history or history in general, but how they rejected her class numerous times. And just all that was just so interesting to know, because I know many of us are trying to, I have like 10 classes that I have, because I've been so busy, I haven't even been able to make that jump of loading them or even applying, going through that process that she's gone through. But her story and how they were like, you can't teach this. This is not important until George Floyd, until it became popular, with all of the things that are happening in this crazy world, but also seeing the response that she was getting from her students, the parents of her students. So all of this is just such rich content. So I hope you all dig in. I hope you make time to see what folks are sharing. I think I forgot, I was in the middle of saying, and I forgot, because there's so much, but someone had commented in the group chat how thanking Jade and the other practitioners who are sharing their process, because we are so used to in our culture of not sharing process, of making things look like, not being honest with the hard parts, or just not wanting to share because you think that you're not going to be competitive anymore. And if you tell people you share information, it's going to take away from you somehow. And that's what I've been touched by, is how forthcoming with information that people have been. And someone like Jade, who is, really at the top of the game, and coming into spaces like this and sharing her information with us free is so valuable, so.
Definitely.
Rachel says, I haven't watched the session yet on the co-ops. I'm curious, were all of the speakers in states that recognize group homeschooling as home education?
No, they were, I tried to respond, but it's a lot to it. But no, they were in different states, and some were recognized as a private school, and then some had, had their own, like they were all different. That's what I was saying, how I didn't know that co-ops could be so distinct from each, like they're really, in other words, when somebody says they're in a co-op, now I've got a whole series of questions to ask. Okay, how is it run? Because they're so different.
Right. And I think many of them were even going one step further. I think more of them had schools, because a co-op is really a cooperative where it's not really one person that's the head, but for all of them, it seemed like they were the lead, or the director, or the head of what it was that they created. And I think that in itself is so much responsibility, that I think that when folks are doing co-ops initially, it's the idea of it being shared responsibility. But when you start getting into schools, and one person having to navigate, like the one woman who had her own building, her own brick and mortar space.
Sherry Robinson, Connecticut, home state.
Oh my goodness. So I mean that I connect that to what Akil Parker was talking about with independent schools. Well, that's what she's created, is an independent school. So
exactly.
I think I appreciate how they are coming and sharing this information, and it's so micro, and they're in showing that it's possible, and that it doesn't have to be like this nationwide call for money and stuff, that these are starting really grassroots and are sustainable.
Definitely.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folks with us today. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We just wanted to check in with you all. Do you have any questions, any feedback you'd like to give us personally? We ask you if you'd like to show us your face, turn on your mics and just converse with us. It's a small enough group that I think that we can have a conversation with each other if you'd like, but still feel free to post in the chat if you don't want us all in your business like that. You're not ready to turn your camera on or you don't want to be heard. So yeah.
Right.
So we want to hear from you. What are some things that you've been able to see? Okay, Rachel says she's
Easy right
eager.
now.
So she's like,
I get
don't
it.
call me out.
Yeah.
Anything you all are looking forward to that hasn't come up yet on the schedule? I know I am excited for when my coffee talk goes live yesterday. Yes, I am tripping. Tomorrow, going backwards in time. Tomorrow, where I talk about how I homeschool for liberation or something like that is in the title. And I'm looking forward to sharing that because I don't really get to talk about that much. And folks don't really ask me that because my daughter has had academic success. Then that's really what people focus on, but people don't really ask what that process entailed to homeschool someone now who has homeschooled out of homeschool, who has graduated. And so it was really exciting to be able to, like, I was in the middle of it and I was like, I like sharing this because it just makes me so proud and so happy. I'm so proud of my daughter. But it really, homeschooling her, parenting her, really allowed me to put into practice the things that I believed before I had children. You know how all of us before we had children, I'm not going to do that with my kids. I'm not going to. And we have certain ways so that when I have kids, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I was Miss Khadijah before I had her, and all the young people love me, and I was fun and all this stuff. And so then you become a parent. And then it's like, what are those things? How do you push it back against being adultist or being, Malika Diggs talks a lot about deschooling and that process of pushing back against schoolishness. And so those of us who we weren't homeschooled, that is so ingrained in us. So how do we begin something new when that's not what we had? That's not how we were schooled. That's not how we were parented. And so, talking about that allowed me to really reflect and process that aloud. So I'm looking forward to sharing that, but I'm looking forward to also. Yeah.
Was she your only child? Alicia asked.
Yes. I have one child. I have a bonus daughter, but she is 10 years older than my daughter, Kari. And so when I came into her life, she was 10, and it was funny because her mother was pregnant when I'm pregnant, not by my partner, but I just thought that was important to share. But it was funny because her dad and I sat down with her and we were telling her that Kari was coming, and she thought this was like a joke, like some type of April Fool's, because her mom had just told her that she was having. So she has two sisters that are the exact same age. It's so funny. Oh, wow. But I didn't get a chance to homeschool her, but my daughter does have an older sister.
Dr. Khadijah, can you talk about what it's like to homeschool an only child? And so how did you, because that's what Alicia's asking here, I think, in terms of, I guess, socialization and, what did you do?
Yeah, that's we would get to ask that a lot, and I'll be honest to say that because that's actually going to be in the book that we're releasing, that Dr. Cheryl and I have edited. My chapter in that book talks about how even this year my daughter still was able to be very successful academically despite COVID closings because of the skills that she built. but it was very isolating for her, just like a lot of the children who were in traditional school settings and no longer among their friends and able to interact, because young people, teens, this is their youth development phase where they're learning about who they are through their relationships with one another. And so I know that that has been the biggest challenge with her not having siblings her age. My nephew, I homeschooled him for a little while before his mom put him back in public school. And she loved that. That was when they were older elementary age children. And that was so easy for me. I didn't realize, like, I don't mean to say that. I don't mean to say that to people who have multiples, but I didn't realize how when she had him, how that really just sometimes freed me up. That sounds awful. But then there were so many games and so many things that I could facilitate with them or get them started, and then they had each other. And so what co-ops were helpful for an only child, really finding activities, workshops and things where other children were. She has a very rich social media life. She was part of, it's an app where you, when she was like around 10 or 11, she was writing books, fan fiction. I forget the name of the site, but she had a community that she was part of there. So that was actually a lot of work to get her engaged as a single parent. So it is a lot of work. I don't even want to give the impression that, they'll be fine. That was probably the hardest thing, was finding spaces for her to be able to interact with other people and not just me and her dad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have any other questions?
Let's see. George was talking about, he's looking forward to the next session because we do need, yes, I agree. We do need to get more Black men involved.
Yes.
Yes, the fathers are there.
Yeah. And I think a lot are, but I just don't think that many are finding the community, because we are, when I say we, the mothers are the majority leading these spaces and really centering our own experiences. And I think that makes sense because it's most of us doing the work. But I think Jason Esters, who is leading the panel that's coming up at 1, is an example of someone heeding the call of organizing the brothers and saying, hey, come to this space because we exist. And this time for us to really be able to fellowship, and not only fellowship, but share ideas. And not only necessarily as the lead facilitator or curator when it comes to homeschooling, but even if as a support to their partners. I think one of his, he has a podcast. That's the name of their podcast, Black Men Homeschool Too, or something like that. I don't want to misname it, but I did peep one of the episodes. They had all of the men who are on the podcast brought their partners, for them to be their wives, for them to really be able to talk from their experiences, and recognizing that they really are the ones leading that process at home. So it's really, I'm really glad to see him as well. And I just appreciate Jason so much anyway. I see him, his activity on the teaching site, how he's reaching out and friending folks. So he's just such an engaging, dynamic person. So I'm looking forward to that session at 1. And George, it was a pleasure meeting you. George was the only one that showed up to talk to me yesterday, and I appreciated it. Yeah. So he's based in Maryland right now, as I am. So we had a lot of opportunity to talk, and I was telling him I'm just really proud of this being something that he's chosen for his family, and the way that he's going about, and he's just really integral to his community as well as an activist. So what other questions do you all have for us? Anything you want to say? We can hear your voice. Mallory, I'm not going to say where you said you're located, but girl, you down the street from me.
I'm sure I
So,
am.
so we need to connect. So you need to shoot me a message or something. Yeah,
I would love
we down the
that.
street.
And I'm pretty sure I've seen you like in person prior to the pandemic at like homeschool gatherings where they have like all the booths of all the homeschool things, organizations or
Probably.
whatever. Um, I'm really looking at, so one thing is this year will be the first year that we're not doing classical conversations for
Mm,
our homeschool, which I really wasn't thrilled about doing it last year, but I just needed something to keep me accountable. So we went ahead
mhm.
and enrolled. I didn't, I wasn't thrilled about their leadership with the pandemic and with everything that was happening with George Floyd and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah,
So I was kind of done. But
yeah.
now I'm very done and am, have developed sort of a rhythm outside of the rhythm that classical conversations has kind of put in place. And so
Hmm.
I really do like a classical approach to learning. And, but yeah, I'm really excited for the Friday session about art as a basis for learning because I was just telling my husband the other day, and, I was just like, whatever. I was like, why couldn't my thing be like math or a core subject? Why couldn't my passion be a core subject? But it is what it is, and
Yeah,
I'm just really interested in seeing the perspective
but
from that session.
can I say, not to interrupt you, or I know what you're saying, but remember that whole schoolishness thing.
Yes.
So you homeschooling, so you can make it the core. That it was the core, it is the core in my household because my daughter, her dad and we met in a band. So we are a
Okay.
musical household. I write play, I'm a playwright, I'm an artist, I'm a songwriter. And so this is that it is the core of our house. And so um everything has really been arts integrated, and she's a
Yeah.
writer as well, so she's going to college in the fall, to California, but that we led with that. And so I want to say
Mm,
that to you because my mother was a mathematician, and
mm,
it was a much of a disconnect growing up because she just could not understand why I didn't love math as much as she did. And I couldn't understand how this woman got joy from doing differential equations. Like, what is this world? And and because that wasn't the thing I was the best at, it somehow became something that I wasn't good at, but I wasn't bad at it, but I was better when it came to writing and the
mm,
arts. And so all of those things, we can change that culture in our home as homeschooling practitioners. We determine that. We
mm,
determine what are the core subjects, and what we want to lead with. It's 12:54 now.
Oh,
The
wow.
next session, right? I know the next sessions begin in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to Dr. Cheryl and I will let you know if we do this again. We did this last year where we
Hmm.
would open a day with doing a check-in, and just to check in with you all, see how you're doing, if you had any questions. And we might, even if not do it tomorrow, then maybe Friday,
Yeah,
because I like seeing you all and talking to you all.
I do too.
Yeah, and I like talking with you all when it's not because you're saying, what the hell is going on? I can't log into the site. where,
They're
where it's
talking
not a
about,
problem.
apparently there's a fabulous black eye doctor in Maryland. I
Ah,
guess I need to move to Maryland
ah,
because
that would
my
be
eyes are
great.
getting bad.
Yes.
I wanted to say, yeah, he's real thorough. He's down in Camp Springs, so I drive from Odenton all the way down to Camp Springs. And when I told him that, he was
What?
real surprised. Yeah, he's like, "You come all the way down here for me?" I said, "Yeah."
What's his name? Well, look, you put
That's
the
website
link.
right there. Special
I
eye
need
care.
to, yeah,
Is
I
it
need to
Dr.
check him out.
Brooks? Is it Dr. Brooks?
I got to check the website because I forgot his name. But
Okay.
the
I,
last
I don't
name.
think I've I don't think I've ever gone to the website. I just had word of mouth and was like, oh, okay.
That's
All of our doctors are people of colors.
that's awesome. That's
Awesome. Yeah,
amazing.
that is.
I see. Alicia said, my partner is actually the one primarily responsible for homeschooling our daughter. I encouraged him to participate in this teach-in, but he backed off a bit when he didn't see any men right away. Oh, well, I hope, Alicia, he's looking over your shoulder now. And I hope he shows up at 1 o'clock because I'm about to open this session for Jason Esters and the fellows on his panel. And I believe Akil Parker is coming back and is going to be on that panel as well. But George says, I give enough thanks to the sisters leading the effort. George. So George, are you and your wife co-facilitating your homeschool practice, or is this something that you've taken the lead with?
I'm taking the lead on it because she's in school. Like she takes care
Okay.
of one of the younger ones, like because we're dealing with the, like we got 3 children. So I've been doing more for the 12-year-old, and she's been doing more for the 4 and 5-year-old.
Oh, nice. I love it. I appreciate you, how you showing up and gathering all the information. I really would like for you to stay connected regarding the things that you were talking about yesterday that you're doing with your group with people from the African diaspora. And I hope that you are making connections here, because everything that you've shared sounds like the making of some type of group or something that will be beneficial to other people who are homeschool practitioners. So continue to show up and share, because I'm just finding so much value in the information that you share. Also go to the group chat and post any of the information, links or anything that you would like folks to know about to be able to join your group. I don't think that that's really so much soliciting if your group is, joining folks. And the same for you, Mallory. As you talk about moving away from classical conversations, really go to the group and see. I'm looking for folks to fill in those groups that are specific to areas, Midwest, the South, and and start sharing information that is more regional based, because then you can get down to the policies and things that are specific to your area. So with that said, I think we got to go now, right?
I need to start my next session. Like, he
All
can't
right,
have more than one. So
right, and because the other one is on my Liberated Muse Zoom. So I'm getting ready to go. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the teaching. Thank you for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
okay, bye-bye.